Hey everybody, this is going to be a kind of a follow-up, kind of a continuation of the last video. It's also going to be probably maddening to some, especially to those that don't want to even look or address at their behavior or their community's behavior and the issues that we face. So, like I said before, BLM, not your friend. They're a very radical, very fringe group, despite everybody trying to make allowances for them and explain away their behavior and trying to blame it on Antifa. Remember, Trayvon Martin riots, BLM. Then we had the Ferguson riots, again, BLM. Antifa wasn't a big thing yet. Baltimore riots, again, BLM. Dallas, where they executed 5 police officers, again, BLM. They're not a happy-go-lucky, nice, we're all about the black man group. They're a very radical, very fringe group. They're really, like Maxine Waters said it perfectly, it's an insurrection. BLM and Antifa are 2 wings of the same bird. One's the right wing, one's the left wing. It's the same bird. The same bird's insurrection. It's rebellion. They want to topple the whole system. And they're just need to be completely ignored. They're worthless. All they are is trouble. They're very divisive, and I firmly believe that it's a coordinated effort between BLM and Antifa to completely destabilize the nation by creating a very hostile environment between the different ethnic groups and races and colors in this nation. Guys, ignore them, ignore their rhetoric. If you really look into the organization, go to their website and see who they are and what they stand for. For a church, especially the church, for any church leader to be doing the black square thing means that you are completely ignorant of who they are. You never went to the website to see what they're pushing. And it makes you very complicit in what's going on. It's not just virtue signaling, it's weakness, it's ignorance. And you are not being wise as serpents and innocent as doves. You're actually being a useful idiot. To use a term from history, a useful idiot. So let's get beyond that and let's go to the next thing. If we're going to heal a nation, if we're going to heal our cities, if we're going to heal our states, with the issue around bigotry versus color and ethnicity and race, then each party involved has got to admit their culpability in the problem and the issues. See, white people aren't bigoted or racist towards everybody that's not white. They're not racist towards every black. They're not bigoted towards every black. They're not bigoted or racist towards every Hispanic or every Jew or every African or every Arab. And there are some things that are common in the cultures that white folks don't like and white folks don't understand. That's the same thing with the black culture and the black community. They look at white people and they're like, we don't understand. What are you doing? That's stupid. I get it. There's differences. Every culture, every people group, every ethnicity, every community, they have things that are unique to them. They do things a little different. Family units look a little different. But the thing is, each one has got their own sins. Sometimes they share sins, but each one's got their own sin. Each one's got the things that that contribute to the problems that they face within their community that feed stereotypes within other groups. So until you're ready to admit and talk about and discuss and actively try to change those issues within your community, then a national dialogue is useless. 2 pastors of different color getting on stage and talking about race, it's a useless exercise to make yourself feel good. It's another one of those things you can walk away and be like, I did great. No, you didn't. You didn't address anything. So until you're ready to address the sins in your own community, the sins in your own culture, the sins in your own family, the sins in your own church, your own denomination, nothing's going to change. Because it is never solely one group or one person's fault. It's like marriage counseling, because that's really what we are as a nation. You can't even really say it's conflict resolution, because that's more of a business term. And yeah, you can use conflict resolution in a personal relationship, but what we are is we're married. It's a marriage. Let's look at the marriages on a national level, right? or even if you want to bring it down to a city level. The people in the city, you're married. The only way to get away from each other is to move to another city. You guys share council members. You share school board members. You share the same people in law enforcement. The judicial system is the same. You elect the same judges. So as long as you're going and continuing to elect the same people, and you're never holding those people accountable for the imbalances in justice, and as long as you're not holding those people accountable for the poor job they're doing running the education system, as long as you're not holding those people accountable for allowing the 10% of the police force to be rogue and do their own thing, it's not going to change. So one, you got to hold them accountable. But as in any marriage, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be differences. There's going to be baggage brought into the marriage from the past. And that stuff, you got to deal with that stuff to have a successful, a healthy, a long-term marriage. One that is a beacon to others, one that is a witness to the deity and the sovereignty of Christ. So, communities at the local level, in your city, the different people groups in the city, the different ethnicities, the various communities, the different colors, y'all have to come together because you're in a marriage. And you've got to work it out. And as in a marriage with a husband and a wife, the two spouses, each are culpable for the problems in the marriage. Most of the time, you'll find that through counseling and discipleship, that those differences are not because they dislike each other or they wouldn't have got married in the first place. It's because they view things differently. They see that there's a different way to resolve a problem, a different way to handle the problem. And because they don't understand each other's differences in the way they see things, you often end that's where you get the conflict from. The conflict is very rarely malicious in intent. It's not, I'm just going to be hard to get along with and demand my own way regardless of what they think. No, majority of the time, they just don't understand why the person thinks that way or why they react that way or what truly is important. The breakdown's in communication. So that's what we need in the community. We need that kind of reckoning, that kind of gathering, that kind of resolution. In the church, it's critical. The church, we are the bride of Christ. Just like the marriage with the husband and the wife, that relationship is an image of the relationship between Christ and the church. Anytime you have more than one person, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be misunderstanding. There's going to be needs and desires and wants that are at odds with the other person. Not 100% of the time. But if we ignore that from the other side, the other person, the other group, the other denomination, the church across town, guys, there's always going to be a division. And as long as that division is allowed to be there and it's never addressed, it's very easy for people to come in and drive a wedge in between you and say, well, they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't love you. You deserve better than them. They're bigoted. They're racist. They're closed-minded. They're hateful. They're hate mongers. You name it. And as long as you stay closed up in that knit with like-minded people, it's very easy to believe those things that are brought in to deceive you. And that's where we're at right now with the city. Guys, as long as we stay self-segregated, it's never going to get fixed. There's never going to be healing. There's never going to be a reconciliation. The problems will never get fixed. They're only going to get worse. We have to be able to hold the police departments and the police force accountable. Guys, pointing out there's a saying that says the 10% ruin it for the 90%. And I would say within the police department, within the ranks of law enforcement in the United States, I'd say that the bad apple was less than 10%. The leadership, the police chiefs, the city councils, I believe there's far more corruption and collusion up at that level than there are in the ranks in the street. But we've got to hold the very few minority of bad apples accountable. Now, when you do that, that's not saying they're all bad. That's not saying they're all corrupt. It's not saying they all need punished. But it is saying that the ones that are bad, they do need to be wed out. They do need to be identified. Those behaviors need dealt with. It's something that we tend to dance around. We tend to paint a broad brush, and we tend to say one side says all police are corrupt, the other side says no, the cops aren't corrupt. If it wasn't for you, that wouldn't have happened. If you hadn't committed a crime, this wouldn't have happened. Well, we can't say that they committed a crime, or even suggest they might have committed this crime or that crime, because of the people group they belong to, their ethnicity, their skin color, their social economic status. We can't attribute a crime because of that. We can't attribute a crime because of the way they dress. Now we can say, statistically speaking, that if you belong to this group or that group, or you live in this neighborhood or that neighborhood, or you belong to this, if you're in poverty, live in a poverty condition, that you're more likely, yes. And that's where the problem comes in, because law enforcement knows the statistics too. And they know that if you're in this group, you're more likely to commit this crime, so you get profiled. Profiling is not always bad. We can say that when we look at terrorism. How many white Christians have committed terrorism? Very, very few, very small minority. So to say profiling is bad is bad within itself. It ignores the benefits of profiling. So you can't say, okay, so how many black men flew planes into buildings? None that I know of. Right? How many black ladies walk around as suicide bombers? I don't know of any. Do you? If you do, let me know. So, but we do know there is an element in this world that adhere to a certain religion where that is an acceptable practice, even taught about. But we're afraid to racially profile. See, guys, there's a time for profiling. There's a time for not to profile. See, now if we want to heal, there's got to be forgiveness. Sometimes the forgiveness and the healing has to come within your community before it can be outside the community. Cities and counties and states and the nation will not heal until there's forgiveness. Now, one party is not owed sole forgiveness from another party. Both parties have to forgive each other, and they have to forgive those within their own community. So to say that only the black community deserves forgiveness from the white community ignores the sins committed against the Chinese, the Japanese, the Irish, and the Hispanics. And it ignores the sins that those groups have committed against the other groups. So there's got to be a bearing of the soul. There's got to be a forgiveness all around. Then there can be a healing. Once we have a healing, once the forgiveness starts in the healing, not only can the healing begin spiritually, but I fully and completely believe that the healing will come about economically. It'll even manifest itself physically within people. Some people are holding grudges and hatred against people, and very bitter against people for things they never even did, just because they share a skin color, someone that committed a crime. That's how Planned Parenthood came about. Margaret Sanger, that founded Planned Parenthood, was because of crimes committed against her family by vagrants that were of a different skin color. And now Planned Parenthood, since its inception, has been targeting low-income minority neighborhoods. If it wasn't for that, I fully believe that the African-American black community would be the minority in this country. But they're not, because Planned Parenthood has made it a goal to target that community and kill their babies. So people, honestly, look at yourself. Look at your community first. Deal with those issues. Confess those issues, those sins, to begin the healing. Once you're ready to deal with that, then you're ready to sit down and talk with the other groups. I urge you, prayerfully consider the issues within yourself first.